Mates, this one will wake you up, because we're starting the day like any true Aussie, with a no-rules pit fight fueled by coffee and sugar. On this magical day, I got my troops jacked up for a very special reason. There were thousands of shit-aliens coming at us with a hunkering for a slice of Sicily, and if we didn't execute them all and get the bodies cleared before my weekly fuck the French barbecue that evening, I was going to have to throw my toys out of the pram. And by that, I mean throw grenades out of my royal carriage into the crowds of beggars. Only thing that gets me off these days. Anyway, so I had the troops set up a load of defences ready to break the enemy's attack like a pint on the pavement, but I had to extend the line beyond all recognition as the Italians were bloody everywhere. As they got close with their Dragoni della Pizzeria falso, my man knew it was cool to be square and got their horse horror game on. Everything was looking funky fresh on the right side, but on the left the enemy's horses were sneaking through the town, and the men I left to guard the place were busy seeing who could stare at the sun the longest, missing the fact the enemy walked right past them. It was the sort of shit I'd come to expect, but even the most cynical commanders sometimes hold out hope that his men aren't going to shit the bed so hard they propel themselves into space, get a quick lap of the sun and fall back down onto their own bayonets. Anyway, the next problem was that the right side was getting a taste of the old big hot balls, since the itty bitties had magicked up 6-pounder guns somehow. I needed to take them out, but I couldn't get anywhere near them for all the bloodthirsty dragoons and gunslingers. Luckily, most of those threats were slowly getting spunked out the window by their constant suicide attempts against the square that just don't care. So, I was pretty much left waiting for a chance to go on the attack. Once the Cav had bit the bullet and their soldiers were close enough to hit with my custom spaghetti whip, the guns were exposed. My Cav blundered through the battle lines to get behind the enemy and quickly got to work getting those 6-pounders 6 feet closer to the Earth's core. Luckily for us, I learned that some of their artillery had stopped off in town, since we had the only shop in Europe that sold extra small rubber johnnies, so while they were trying to work out what else they should buy at the same time to make it less awkward, I sent in my riders to deliver some surprisingly violent parking tickets. Life was good on the flanks. They still had their infinite supply of clone dragoons, but that wasn't too much to handle. I was turning my attention to the real man-to-man action in the centre. The enemy didn't bother shooting us, of course. Instead, they came up to see what my defences were all about, and as they probably should have remembered from boot camp, defences were generally about killing the curious baboons who sidled up to them like it was the counter at little Luigi's Pizzeria and Micropenis protection Emporium. Our men pushed them back, then got cocky and decided to set up on the wrong side of the defences just to really mindfuck this rebel scum. I wasn't going to stop them. Whether they scared the enemy off or got themselves shot, that was win-win for me. It was payday tomorrow. With the centre looking good and our Cav bloody dominating the flanks, I had an inkling that in just a few minutes my TV crew was going to show up to start filming the next episode of Corpse Looting for Intermediates with King Napoleon. And don't you go thinking I was only into corpse looting because occasionally you'd find an item that is best described as looking like a small latex hat for an acorn. I just wanted to teach the world the joy of lifting random bric-a-brac from the pockets of dead men, honest. In the end, it took quite a while to finally convince all those rebels to leave. They were somehow professional soldiers after all, but one volley of gunfire to the face at a time, we defied mathematics and overcame the infinite supply of it girls being vomited into our own zones. Now, a little hypothetical question for you. If you're a revolutionary, and so far all you've done is revolutionise the art of losing thousands of men for no gain, what's your next move? Any thoughts? If you said, just do the exact same thing that lost you 4,000 men, but only send in 2,000 men this time, congratulations, you're smart enough to join the Italian Revolution. The best spots in the morgue get filled up fast, so sign up today to avoid disappointment. It's a strictly first shot stabbed or trampled because of their own stupidity first served basis. My troops broke rule number 1 of the Kingdom of Sardinia, no survivors. So I had to bring in extra troops to poop scoop the rest of the Che Guevara fanboys, but yeah, once that was done, the revolution was a Google Plus tier failure. With that behind us, there was a couple of months where not much happened. Just got even more rich off trade, plus got a load of extra money from merchandising my awesomeness, brainwashed all the people into worshipping little models of me that I sold at 4 Sardinian shekels a pop, and the That's What Napoleon Said t-shirt was flying off the shelves faster than we could steal cotton to make them. But in between all the hot tubs full of money and caviar breakfasts, I realised a worrying trend. Glancing at a map my diplomats had left lying around, I noticed that the other Napoleon, the shitty one, had damn near taken over the rest of the world while I wasn't paying attention. He had a serious slab of Europe, and somehow got Greece as well, so I guessed he wasn't going to stop there. My old punching bag Austria was going downtown, and then who couldn't resist having a pop at Russia? Seeing all this made me feel a little guilty. I'd nailed down being a high and mighty rich guy, that part of being a king, but taking over the world, that part was a little forgotten. I was only killing people for fun, not for business. But that was going to end right there. It was time to get fucking serious. I started a Facebook event called Kill All French People and invited my whole damn list. All the tech I'd been growing up meant that at least we could hire some pro troops, got dragoons of my own, and even guys who actually knew how to aim a gun. Right across my lands, the great mobilization began. Every town was wired up with loudspeakers so that I could play I'll Make a Man Out of You 24/7, and any citizen found not sharpening at least one blade, or optionally carving Fuck the French into a wall, was fed to the horses to give them a taste for human flesh. My whole kingdom was pretty soon bristling with weapons, ready to make a France fillet, and wherever you looked you got a reminder about my official diplomatic stance with our northern neighbour. Now the big man, Napster.fr, found out that suddenly Sardinia was becoming the most powerful nation in the world, and you could bet your last Rewburger it was the richest, so he sidled up with his clique of knobheads to try and get invited to my birthday party. This guy wasn't exactly a master of social interaction. He hadn't got the hint when I actually made a MySpace account, added no one, and sent him the link, rejected him when he tried to add me, then went on all of his pictures of him and his wife, a wheel of cheese as you may recall, and commented that she was no Beyonce. So I did manage to give him the cold shoulder in the end. Come winter, he was asking me to go to war with Russia with him. He'd heard great things about marching on Moscow in winter, I guess, but once again it was the jack-in-a-box bird flip with moonwalk exit treatment for him. While my legions of death trained, I discovered that a few other nations had been swatting up on how not to be a shithole. I leaned over and started copying their notes, bribing them if they threatened to call the teach. That meant we could finally develop our industry even more, because being the richest nation in the world just didn't meet my secret goal of draining the Mediterranean and turning it into a sea of coins with my face on them instead. Months went by, all going as planned, but then my ministers told me they'd hired a new member of staff, someone to spy on the enemy. Now I was expecting a kind of suave, James Bond type of guy, but instead all I could say was what the actual fuck? This guy looked like he'd walked here across a carpet of heroin syringes. Even though he probably had about 20 minutes to live, I told him to go find out if Big Baby Nap Nap had any troops on our borders. I was halfway through putting my suit on to go to the guy's funeral when he actually reported back saying it was all clear. Alright mate, sure your blood is 80% opium and I have no idea how you're alive, and maybe I even think you're some kind of undead creature under the control of a vengeful spirit, but sure, I believe you. I started telling my men to get their shoes on, because it was nearly time to open a can of Sardinian whoop-ass made in China on them. Clearly I was going to rush up and take the rest of Italy, had a load of guys ready for that, but I was also stoked to gobble up Corsica, the birthplace of the great unwashed one himself. They had a big army there, but they were all just crash test dummies brought to life by the dying wish of a man with an obscure fetish, so it was no sweat. I got an army ready inside my fuck-off ships, of which I had a whole fuck-off fleet by then, ready for some Corsican carnage. I had a smaller fleet, more of a piss-off fleet I guess, that I was loading up with troops as well to go take the Greeks by surprise. That's right, I was taking this seriously. It was going to be a wave of attacks in multiple places, stopping the French from being able to bunch up their body bag fillers to stop me. Another army, this time in an excuse me sir fleet, was getting ready to hit the Balkans, hoping to eventually team up with my Greek grinders from the south to give any armies coming back from Russia a hard time. I was almost ready, but I was 90% sure the French knew that I was about to change our relationship status to It's Complicated, because they started going to ground all over the place, a giant fleet, a giant army in Greece, a big garrison for Corsica, but hey, I knew I was going to have to kill some French people eventually, might as well be right away. Once the time came, first I had to get the checkbook out and start doing the usual rounds of buying off all France's allies. Luckily for me, they all thought he'd really gone downhill after he started hanging out with the cheese crowd, so they were happy to add their signature to the "I'm sorry for your lost" card I would leave on his grave. Might sound a little soppy, but don't worry, the picture on the front was a shot of me laughing uncontrollably at the camera while a French flag burned in the background. After that, The big moment. Sent a text to the Baron of Baguettes saying we needed to talk and that I couldn't make the trade summit that afternoon. Kind of shit to be losing our French buyers as we were totally fleecing them. Income dropped like Snoop Dogg's collection of double-ended flaming torches. But at that stage, with 50% of our nation's buildings made out of cash, we were basically living in a capitalist utopia, so we'd get by. I told the little man that while I was there was something else I wanted to tell him. And that thing was, fuck you, Teg, you're it, coming for you ready or not. P.S. Your wife is a congealed mass of mouldy lactose. I gave it 2 weeks tops before the word French in the dictionary just said dead. See also, monumentally fucked. Alright mates, the Sardinian Male Voice Choir, we're back.
We're back,
I'm going to sing the song that I've been using to keep my troops inspired when they're going through their pretty fucking harsh training regimes. So hopefully this will inspire you in your lives as well.
Come on, boys.
Alright? Let's get down to business to defeat the French. Fuck those guys. Did they send me bogans? I can't stand the stench. You're the shittest bunch I ever met. With bloody right before we're through. Oh yeah. Fucking all make a bloke out of you. Here we go. Sober as a Buddha, but fucking pissed within. Once you're out the shit house, to right mate, you'll win. You're a dull-bludging bunch of maggoted fucks, and you haven't got a pissing clue. Somehow I'll make a bloke out of you. Alright, that's enough of that. Get out. Get it out. God damn it. Thought it was alright.